Hello, welcome to the latest episode of Harmonious World, and this is a very special episode because it celebrates our 4th anniversary. It's 4 years exactly since I started Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and in this episode I'm joined by vocalist Lois Deloatch, whose new album Love Always is out now. What you're listening to is the title track, which was written by Lois and pianist Ernest Turner.
Love always, no matter what, no matter when or where, love is the answer. It's why we were born.
Love Always includes tracks that are more jazz, more folk, more gospel, more R&B. It covers so many different genres.
Times are hard.
Pianist Ernest Turner not only arranged and composed some of these tracks, but he also produced the album.
And tender.
I hope you're enjoying listening to Love Always, and I hope you also enjoy listening to my conversation with Lois Deloatch.
And charity is a love. Love makes us human. It bears all things, hopes all things. Love's kind and patient, keeps no account of wrongs. Love never fails. Believe in the power of love. Believe in the power of love. Oh, I believe in the power.
Thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. It's a real honor to speak to you.
Well, it's an honor for me to speak to you too. I was just doing a little reading on you, and knowing that you are a fellow artist and just a music lover and someone who is invested in ensuring that we have these kinds of conversations. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. But yes, and that's absolutely what I'm here for. Is Harmonious World is all about giving artists the opportunity to share what they're good at. So here we are.
Yes. So where are you physically today?
I am at my house, which is about 30 miles north of London.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And whereabouts are you?
I am in Durham, North Carolina. So we're not quite in the middle of the state, but I'm in a unique part of the country and part of North Carolina, this triangle area, as it's called. So it's a lot of research industry going on here, but I am also, it's a lot of academic and higher education institutions, Duke University, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. So it's this unique blend of academics and arts. And I'm from a tiny rural town about 2 hours from here. So you have a little bit of urban and also some rural. So it's a cool part of the country.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. I'm getting to learn so much more about where the different states are and where people are, because obviously I speak to a lot of Americans, and it's just really nice to get a sense of whereabouts you are.
Yes. And the other good thing about my location, for example, this weekend I was in Atlanta, Georgia with my sister. So that's about 5.5 or 6 hour drive. So it's not that bad. And we're not far from Washington, D.C. I can be in New York in an hour on a flight. So it's a convenient location as well.
Yeah, brilliant. I once did a trip where we went down from New York down through Pennsylvania and down to Georgia, and then we went across. It was just lovely. It's a lovely part of the world. There's so much space, isn't there?
Yes, there is. And I'll say the last time I was in or near London has been, 15 years ago. I'm overdue to come there. I was taking this graduate course while I was working at Duke University, and it was called London Theatre. So I came with a group to London it was 10 plays in 10 days and the Royal Ballet.
Oh, wow. That's
We
fantastic.
went to the Dome, we went to all these theaters. It was fabulous. I'd love to repeat that adventure.
Yeah, that sounds brilliant. Well, you must come to London and sing. I mean, you must come with this album, Love Always. It's a brilliant album.
Thank you. The entire recording, as you can imagine, it's personal, but it's also universal. And 41st Cousins was a piece that I penned during the pandemic, early in the pandemic, when a first cousin, I was raised in this rural area with literally about 45 first cousins, because my father was one of 10, my mother was one of 10, I am one of 10. And a cousin passed away early during COVID, before we had vaccines and sort of knew what was really happening. And that tune was written in memory of her and just as a way to help process the grief around it.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because this podcast started as a lockdown project, and obviously it's sort of grown much more than that. But it, I think sometimes we forget how devastating the whole lockdown process was.
Yes, I agree. I think it was a time, as an artist, and I'm sure you've had your periods of woodshedding as well, when you take advantage of going inward. It can be physical and as well as mental or spiritual. But in some ways, for many artists I know, including myself, it was like an involuntary woodshedding. And I was very grateful to have my art as a way to process things and as something to turn to where I could express emotion and just thoughts in a constructive way, not knowing that it would end up on a recording out in the world. But it was just a blessing, really, for me to have, I play piano and I mainly write, start songs on piano. But it was such a blessing to have that outlet for what was happening. It was just traumatic. And as we look back, I know we're trying to move through it now and move beyond it. But at any given moment, I don't know about you, Hillary, but at any given moment, those flashbacks of what it felt like, the uncertainty of it all, just the pain and trauma of it all, with not knowing the uncertainty and with the number of deaths that were
Yeah,
happening, it was a lot.
absolutely. And I think we need to remember that, because we need to remember what we as humanity went through. And there was a sense of us all going through it together, because it didn't matter where you were in the world. Everybody went through some sort of lockdown.
Yes, yes, we did, and I think what you're speaking to there, it really was an indication, a very blatant outward indication of our common humanity and connectedness in a way that we quickly forget during quote unquote normal times.
Yeah. And I think it's really important that we don't. And it's what I'm finding now really nice is that there are albums like this that are coming out, which sort of cast it in stone in some ways. They force us to
Mm-hmm.
remember. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's why, that track 41st Cousin, that does serve to do that.
Yeah, thank you. I think in overall, the recording is an homage, a tribute to my family and my upbringing, but particularly to my father, who passed away in December of 2022 at the age of 98. So we say that my father finished his life, he
Yeah.
finished his life. And but it was still, although, we could move about a little bit more freely, it was still under that cloud of COVID that we found him, or that it was near the end of his life that we had to deal with that. So I just really wanted to use this work as a way to not just commemorate his life, but also to bring into it some of those core values and tenets and beliefs that he and my mother and my community raised me with.
Yeah, that's lovely. Can I also talk to you about Ernest Turner?
Oh,
He's
yes.
a special man.
Yes, yes. So I will make sure that he hears this, if you share a link to this recording. Ernest and I have been working together for many years from the time he was a teenager. His growth and development is just outstanding. He is just a world-class musician, well educated. He has this rich background in music. He's played quite a bit. He has his own, I don't know if you've looked him up, but he has a recording called My Americana, which is just outstanding. He's just a brilliant writer and composer and band leader. And when I thought about a partner for this project, Ernest really was the first person who came to mind. In fact, on the tune Love Always, the title track, I deliberately chose to do a few pieces with just voice and piano because that is my element. And Ernest is co-writer on that because for most of my pieces, I pretty much write, all of it. But what he added and what he contributed to that song made it what it is. And so I just cannot thank him enough for his support, his belief in and understanding of what I'm trying to do. And I could not have done this project without him.
No, and clearly as a pianist, but also as an arranger and a producer and a composer and everything, he
Mhm.
just brings so much. And it's lovely that you found him, he found you, you found each other, so that
Yeah.
that's allowed this album to come to reality.
Yes. Yes. And I think, and I don't know if you've had this experience with artists you work with, other musicians you work with, sometimes it just clicks and you know that this person gets me, even though
Yeah,
we got to work through some things. It may be some challenges that we have to confront, but it's just that core feeling that he gets it. He's going to give me direct, constructive feedback. And so yes, he is very special.
yeah. That's brilliant. And so we should also mention bassist John Brown and drummer Donovan Cheatham. They
Yes,
they
yes.
do a
So
great job as well.
they do. So John Brown and I have known each other for 20 plus years, and I call him my little brother. John is just this multi-talented person. He is vice provost for the arts at Duke University. So he's now
Ah,
wearing academic hat, but he's an attorney. He went to law school. He has a law background,
wow.
but music has always been his love and his life. And he sort of went through a path of um, teaching, now serving in a number of roles. Donovan, I had not worked with as much, but I knew his reputation was outstanding. Young man who the sensitivity that he brings to this and just the knowing around what my aesthetic is, which I think, as you can tell, my sound and just the core of who I am comes out of not just the South and rural, but out of church music, just the depth of soul. And I would say soul music,
Yeah.
um, as you think of it more expansively. And Donovan, that is his element. It really is. He can be so sensitive and he can, as you may have noticed, for example, on the drum work on Occasional Brilliance, or the drum work that he did on Friendly Fire. The prequel to Friendly Fire was Into the Fire, which was that the three musicians playing without voice on that.
Right.
So yes, I really appreciated having them together. I mean, it worked out very well, I think.
Yeah. So when did you record?
I recorded in last July. We recorded in July, and I also will give kudos to Jason Richmond. Not only was he the engineer who worked with us and he did some of the mastering, but this is my sixth recording as leader, and I think at least three of them Jason has done some work on. And he's somebody who knows me well enough when I'm saying, and I said live at Overdub Lane, because what you see is what we did. I mean, what you hear is what we did. Maybe one or two things we had to tweak, but it was not a lot of production and a lot of, things that were synthesized. No,
Yeah.
it was live in studio, and Jason was partly responsible for ensuring that we captured, and most of the things were first takes that you hear
Wow.
on that recording.
That's amazing. And it does come across as a carefully produced but not overproduced live album. That's how it comes
Mhm.
across. So it is beautiful. I
Thank
love
you.
your voice as well. Your that it's mellow and
Mhm.
it's right down in your soul, isn't it? That voice.
It is. I was recalling to someone the other day that, for the longest time I was so uncomfortable with my voice because I was the female who was often in the tenor section because my voice is low. And a lot of my friends were, sopranos and, high altos, and here I am with this deep voice. And over time, particularly as I aged and became wiser and sort of became more even accepting that this is the voice and this is the gift that I have. So I need not judge it and just be comfortable with it. So yes, it's taken a while. I've been singing since I was, 6, 7, 8 years old. And I'm finally, I think, comfortable with this is the instrument I have. Let me try to use it and, as best I can.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, this album is lovely, and it's lovely that there are so many tracks on it that are your own.
Yes. Oh, and all of the tracks, with the exception of that intro, the instrumental intro piece, the only other three pieces are, things in public domain because they're over 100 years old. Lift Every Voice and Sing is considered the Black national anthem. We used to call it in the Negro national anthem. And it's one that I do a lot and wanted to capture it in a studio recording. Amazing Grace, I've done since I was a child, and it's just a part of the canon of
Yeah,
African American music, although it was written, by Newton, who is white, but it is just music that it speaks to my soul.
yeah, fantastic. So, what's next? Are you touring? Are you taking these tracks out live?
Yes, I am. In fact, I'm going this weekend to Quad Cities, Davenport, Iowa. It's sort of an Indiana, Iowa, Illinois. It's Polyrhythms is the name of the series and festival there that I've known these folks for a long time. I'll do a concert there this weekend. I have a couple of things coming up locally. I'm planning to do something in Miami a little bit later this summer. I'm also doing, as you may have seen from my bio, I do a lot of just talks and conversations, often interspersing music. So I'm getting out there with the project, with the music, but also to talk about things that we've been talking about here. What does the music mean? What's the place of arts and music in our culture, particularly now? How can we do storytelling in a way that helps us create and facilitate a more harmonious world? I say that I'm a peace builder. And, particularly as I get older, I'm very focused on, you know, finding ways for us to be more in touch with our common humanity during a time when it seems like there's so many things to divide us. So I'm trying to use my music in that vein as well, trying to use it in a historical context. I said to someone the other day, when I actually turned down an offer to do something, Hillary, I'm really focused on presenting music in places and spaces that has some type of cultural significance. That's sort of the phase I am with my art and in my life right now.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I don't know if you know, we've got a radio station in the UK called Jazz FM, and
Yes, and
it's
in fact, I
yeah,
think I think my the and again, shout out to Max Horowitz out of New York, who is helping me promote the record. He connected me. I'm quite sure that they have the recording
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Mhm.
I'm sure they do, but I'm in touch with Ruth Fisher, who's one of the presenters there, and I know that she would love your stuff, so I'm definitely going to make sure that she knows about you and that she's got it, because sometimes these
Mhm.
things can sort of slip through the net, and there's been a lot of great music out in the last few months, but I'm definitely going to make sure that she gets to hear you as well, because I know she'll love you. So
I appreciate that. And, from the beginning of my career 30 years ago, that's really been the cornerstone of my growth and development and moving into professional music at large is just what you just mentioned. You'll meet people, we have a common interest, and they want to help be an advocate for the music.
yeah,
They want to help get it out into the world. So I really appreciate you offering to do that with her and with anybody else that you feel like it would connect with.
yeah.
Um, and same thing here. If you're planning to come to the US, let me know. I would be delighted to host you or to offer some suggestions on places you might want to go, some folks you might want to connect with. For example, I have friends who, getting back to what you asked about what's next, planning a collaborative project right now with three other very noted, outstanding jazz vocalists. Nina Freelon is a close friend. She lives nearby. My friend Kate McGarry, who tours quite a bit, and Lenora Helm Hammond, who is an educator but also a very well respected music educator and jazz artist. She's teaches vocal jazz internationally. So
Wow,
we are planning to do a collaborative project that sometime later this summer.
wow, that
Uh,
sounds exciting.
yes, I have a couple of a book that I am determined to finish up. It really is more a book around inspiration. And I would say inspiration and aspiration. And so there are any number of projects that I'm working on at once. You know how that is with
Oh,
us.
I know exactly how that is.
Yeah. And in fact, Hillary, Love Always is really the first of two. It was intended to be a two album project, but I did not want to release too much at once because, as you know better than I do, the landscape has changed so much in the last 10, 15 years in terms of how people consume music, how music finds its way in the world. So I did not want to overwhelm myself
No.
or the space with too much at one time. So there's also the second part of this project that I'm planning to release in the next couple of years.
Fantastic. Well, when that's ready, and when the other project sounds really interesting as well, you must definitely come on and talk about those as well.
Yes, yes, yes. And if you don't mind, so again, I've been doing a little reading about you and what you're trying to do. And I know you have had these great interviews with folks here in the US, whether it's Joy Alexander and all kinds of folks. So where do you see this platform going? Because it
Well,
really is such a valuable platform.
yeah, well, that's really interesting. That I've got a sort of offshoot of it, which I'm
Hmm.
calling Sharing Harmony,
Hmm.
because it's about getting the stuff that people have said to me, getting it out in different ways. And I definitely want to come over to the States and interview more people, chat with more people in person, because I've started doing that in London, but I
Hmm.
want to do it more over there as well.
Hmm.
So, there's lots of things that I want to do. So I shall definitely be in touch.
Yeah, yeah, that's the exciting thing about sort of the time we live in now because of technological advances, whether it's um, improving some of the enhancements that we can use to help improve our art form. It really does provide a lot of avenues to reach out to people and connect with people in ways we couldn't even 10 years ago. Um, but trying to figure out how we want to focus
Yeah.
that time and use that platform is really important and something that I also, grapple with sometime. What's the
Yeah.
right venue? What's the right audience? And
Right.
that's a challenge for artists right now, particularly those of us who are doing what I would consider in some ways. I believe that music is universal, but it's sort of niche when you are trying to get into spaces that is overwhelmed with some of the more popular, and I love all kinds of music, some of the more popular music that may have more, more resources behind
Yeah.
it to
Yeah.
get it in front of people. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we must definitely stay in touch with each other for sure.
yeah, yes. So,
Fantastic.
so let me ask you this. So, of the other pieces on the recording, are the others that sort of struck you, or ones that you might have some question about them?
I really liked In My Bones.
Oh,
Tell
that was
me.
written for my mother.
Oh, that's nice.
It's that's sort of a folk wisdom song, so that first line, there's a storm on the horizon, it's gonna be here for long. Again, being raised in a rural area where people really did use their intuition more, we certainly did had lots of modern medicine and all that, but my mom would say, "Oh, my arthritis is aching today. A storm's coming." And as we know now, the science says that barometric pressure, impacts how you feel, right?
Yeah.
But more than just that, it's connecting it also with us developing our own human, being in touch with our own human intuition in a positive way. Um, that line that's there's a new day arriving, prepare and stay strong. You're gonna make it, keep on pushing, feel it in your bones. So it really is about, two or three things at once. One is, being attuned to your own intuition, but also about staying positive and trusting that you have what you need to make it in the world.
There's a storm on the horizon, gonna be here for long. Headed right for my doorstep, I can feel it in my bones. Hear the thunder over yonder, no birds singing songs. And the raindrops on the rooftop got me aching in my bones. Call it intuition, or maybe premonition. Some say I'm superstitious, but I believe you gotta trust in what you're feeling. Learn to pay attention, heed the warnings, please. A new day's arriving, prepare, stay strong. You're gonna make it, keep on pushing, feel it in your bones.
So that was written for her in the same way that Occasional Brilliance, that first line was, "It's later than you think." That's a line that my mother's sister, who lived to be 101, would always tell us. This is what the elders, these griots, would say. Look, it's later than you think. You are an adult now. You need to prepare and order your life in a way that you are being mature about your decisions, that you are preparing for tomorrow. So it's imparting that kind of wisdom that was handed down to me in a different kind of way.
That's wonderful. That's brilliant. My mother is she's 89 now, and she's having to slow down. She doesn't
Mhm.
want to slow down, but she's having to. And I've got a much better relationship with her now.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's a lovely thing. It really is. I don't resent the time that I have to spend helping her,
Oh
because I
yeah.
feel like I'm getting so much benefit from it.
Hmm. Absolutely. I mean, I think it's and thank you for sharing that, because I think part of this project and what I'm processing right now is, I'm 64. I'll be 65 this year. I am now one of the elders in my family. When my dad passed, Hillary, he was the last of his generation. All the in-laws had passed. He was the last one. And so
Right.
technically I have a couple of older siblings, but we are the elders now. And so part of embracing that responsibility of saying, what is it you need to say and do and leave behind, so that those who are here now or may come after have some sense of the values and beliefs that were important. Not to say that they have to adopt them all, but you are finding a different kind of meaning in it now. And with my dad in his latter years, we were very involved in his care. We call it co-caregiving, because as long as they can do things for themselves, they are also caregiving for themselves.
Yeah.
So once you become a co-caregiver, it gives you a whole different perspective of the world.
Oh, that's amazing. That's very wise. And you're absolutely right. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you, Lois, and obviously about the music, but about so much more than that. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. And I think when I'm often asked, what the record means, what, being in sort of the creative realm means, I think I just feel so fortunate that I'm finally at a stage in my development that it's sort of one thing. And that's
Yeah,
about, trying to use all the assets, gifts, whatever I have to bear to make the world a better place for everybody in it.
that is fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
And you.
The news called it war. You said it was hell. It's all the same to the casualties.
I hope you enjoyed listening into that conversation with Lois Deloatch and her album Love Always, live at Overdub Lane Studio, is out now wherever you get your music. All the links are in the show notes, and what you're listening to now is Friendly Fire.
Show me the prize, such a heavy cost.
Thank you for joining me once more on Harmonious World, and I hope you found that conversation interesting.
And they made me a witness to your death and pain. Collateral damage, pawns in a game. Oh, and the friendly fire never ceases. We need a miracle. Are you the miracle we need? Friendly fire never ceases. We need a hero. Are you a hero for peace?
Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and it's a great delight to bring this series of discussions with musicians and composers and writers and all sorts of people to you. Obviously, there's no point in having a podcast if people aren't listening, and I'm very grateful to my listeners for doing so. Thanks also to Joe English for composing and performing this new theme tune. So wherever you get your podcast, you can leave a review. You can share this with your friends and family, either as a link or on social media and that sort of thing. I'd be really grateful for that. Don't forget that you can subscribe now. There's a link wherever you get your podcasts. So have a great week, and please remember why I started this, which is just to try and make the world a little more harmonious. Thanks for listening to Harmonious World.